If you've clicked on this video, it's most likely because you found yourself in a little rut, a little predicament. You know that there are things that you should be doing, things that you want to be doing, but you can't seem to get yourself to do them for some reason. And now you're watching this video in hopes for a solution. And lucky for you, I'll be going over 3 important factors that I do, things that I consider that allow me to be productive even on my laziest days. This isn't to say that there aren't days in which should be fully allocated for your rest and recovery. If you've been watching my content for long enough, you know that I preach that all the time. This is more for those individuals that are in that rut, that want to get out of it and just need a spark of motivation. Hopefully I can do that for you within this video. My name is Jun Yu. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. I am super excited to actually do this one simply because it's a question that I get a lot. I've been posting my daily schedules on my Instagram story, and people ask, how do you do so much within a day? How are you so motivated? And so I thought it was important that I make this video. If all of this sounds really interesting to you, I hope that you enjoy it. And if you do, please leave your comments and ask questions. I'd be happy to respond to you. And at the same time, of course, subscribe. With that all being said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Mel Robbins has this incredible quote that goes, "Never let your mood dictate what you do. Always take action first, because movement changes your mood." You see, motivation is great when we have it, and we should absolutely take advantage of it when it comes around, but we shouldn't wait for it. We definitely shouldn't rely on it because we know that it's temporary. We know that it's constantly fleeting. So the question then becomes, how can we still achieve our goals even on the days where we don't feel like it? On the days where we have low or no motivation at all? And the answer, according to Mel Robbins, and the answer according to my personal experience too, is movement. But more specifically, movement in the form of a daily routine that's feasible enough so that you actually stick to it long term. I hope that you got that part because it's important. So I'm not talking about a 15-step, 20-step morning routine, no matter how cool it looks on the internet, because yeah, they might be great for the first month, but you have to ask yourself and be honest, how feasible, how realistic is it for me to stick to this a year down the line or 2 years down the line? If the answer is, yeah, not so much, then you're setting yourself up for failure, because you have to remember that a routine really becomes powerful once it becomes a habit, once you're not actually contemplating each of those steps. And that takes time. It takes time to build habits, and it's not the easiest process either. So if it's your first time developing a routine, it's probably going to be grueling, and you don't want to make it overly complex to increase the chaos that you're experiencing, right? So instead, what you're shooting for are small actionable steps that are going to be pushing you towards the right direction each time you accomplish one of those steps. They should be simple. So for example, if I'm talking about a morning routine, perhaps I identify 5:50 a.m. to be the time in which I wake up. I'm going to be making my bed immediately. I'm going to be getting a cup of water and then going to the bathroom, wash up, then sit down at my desk and enter my first bout of deep work. That's a very simple, practical morning routine. It might be great for some of you, and actually sounds pretty darn good to me. So you see how each of those steps, if you take them individually, that it might not seem that profound, but in the context of one another, you see how they all build momentum in the right direction. They all build positive momentum, right? And that can do a lot for yourself in terms of the motivation. Because think about it, if you were to wake up that day feeling like you don't want to do anything, but you went through those steps, all of those pieces are actionable, are movements, as Mel Robbins calls it, and they're going to be changing your mood. So you might have not felt so great to start, but by the time you get to your desk, you're gonna feel probably a little bit better. Still might not be 100%, but you're gonna feel a lot better than if you were to just waste away your morning and then regret it later on, right? And you have to understand that momentum is a big thing for us because it sets us up to have success with bigger goals down the line. So maybe you have a big meeting later on, maybe you have a big presentation later on, and you have to be on your A game. And all of those things that you've just done, you're setting yourself up for success down the line. But that's where really the routine becomes powerful, especially on the days where you don't feel like it, right? On the days where you just have no motivation, you stick to that routine. You stick to those steps. And another part that I'm going to add to this is you want to do as much as you can to reduce the friction point for all of these parts of your routine. So if I'm going to be waking up at 5:50 a.m., but I find myself scrolling on my phone for the first 20 minutes, yeah, I probably shouldn't leave my phone in my room. I'm trying to reduce the friction point. So perhaps I'm not even gonna have my phone in the room at all. And I'm going to be using a physical alarm clock. And so I don't have that type of temptation. And then I'll go and before I get my cup of water, I realize, yeah, I set out the cup for myself already. And so all I gotta do is take that and get the water and then drink it, right? I'm not shuffling around for which cup I'm gonna be using and things of that sort, or perhaps I didn't do my dishes the night before or whatever, so I don't even have a clean glass to use. That's not gonna be the case because I've done the work the night before. I'm setting myself up for success. I'm reducing the friction point. And when I go and wash my face in the morning, I have my Panoxyl right there for me. I have my skincare right there for me. And when I get to my desk, my computer is already there. All I have to do is turn it on and all the tabs are already open. All my textbooks are already at my desk, and it's making it so much easier for me to do that part of the routine. Look, again, I just told you how tough it can be to stick to a routine, especially early on. Reduce the friction point. You'll find yourself having a much better chance at doing this. And once you can develop into a habit, this will become a powerful, powerful, powerful way for you to never run out of motivation. Realize that you are in control. Do not be the type of person constantly blaming the people around you or your environment for where you are, because that will only take you so far. And I really do speak from experience here. I come from a family background that was never financially stable, and that caused a lot of problems. One being that there was a pretty devastating divorce between my mom and my dad, which caused my mom overnight to leave the country, and I lost contact with her for 7 years straight. Did I mention that she was my best friend? So you can imagine how tough that was for a kid. And then shortly after that, we dealt with sicknesses in the family and some tragedies there too. And so for a while, I felt really sorry for myself, and I constantly pointed the finger at the people around me in my environment and the world for putting myself in that situation. And I had to wake up eventually though, because I realized that I wasn't actually making progress towards any of the goals that I had out for myself. I wasn't making any progress, period, to be honest. I was the same individual, same immature person for about 4 years of my life during that phase. And I had to wake up to the fact that, man, I am powerful beyond measure. There is a lot that I can control. 100% of the struggles that I had encountered up to that point, I had gotten through. I can do it. It is about me. It's not about ensuring that the external factors all align. I don't have to wait for the perfect opportunity. I don't have to wait for the perfect support system. I don't have to have anybody believe in me. I don't have to have the type of finances. I don't need to have any of that. And I know that intrinsically, I know in terms of the internal factors, that there is something about me that's strong enough. There's something about me that will constantly press forward. There's something about me that is so resilient that I can do this, right? And that does so much. It bodes so well for your motivation, because if you're constantly, I'm telling you this right now, if you're sitting there in that situation where I was, where you're just waiting for things, where you're just waiting for those external factors to align, it probably won't come. And to be honest, you probably wouldn't have developed the skill set so that even if it does align, for you to execute on that type of opportunity. So it's about you, okay? It really is. It's about the things that you can control. It's about understanding that you are powerful, right? And a great practice to do is a certain type of reflection, because we are our biggest critics. We know our flaws in and out, but we don't ever actually take the time to recognize the things that we're good at, the things that we've done well. So for example, if you got an A on your exam, there's probably a lot of things that you did well to get there, that you did to get there, right? You probably studied enough. You probably were able to get a good amount of sleep. You were probably able to be disciplined enough. There's a lot of those things that you did that led to that type of outcome. And that should bode well for your confidence, right? Because there was a lot in your control. You executed properly. And we know that confidence is having an undeniable stack of proof that you are exactly what you say that you are. So you take that confidence, you turn it into motivation for the next task, for the next big goal that you have, the next big objective. No matter how much chaos there is around you, you know that internally you have what it takes. And that does a lot for your motivation. Change your environment, both the place and the people. I'll start with place first, because I think that's a little bit more intuitive and actually probably a common technique that people adopt when they're feeling a lack of motivation. It's powerful. It's helped me a ton. And if you're not aware of it already, you should be. So I'll start with it. There's a lot of times where I'm at this desk and it's just not it. I'm not feeling focused. and I'm definitely not being productive. And all it takes for me is to go to my local cafe or my school's library, and then I'm a completely different person, right? Whether that's because I see other people working and that makes me want to work harder, or perhaps it's because I am breaking out of that mundane, monotonous cycle of being at this desk on a daily basis. It's probably a combination of those two. But whatever it is, it's really beneficial for me. And I've realized it doesn't even have to be outside of my apartment, right? Actually, in fact, there's times where I'll work in my kitchen, and that type of change of pace, change of scenery is enough to keep me more engaged, to have me more focused and more productive. And because I've seen how powerful this is for me, I have actually started to schedule this in for myself. I've always been the type of person where it's in the middle of the week, I have a lack of focus and energy, usually Wednesdays and Thursdays. So now I'll match when I'm already outside of the apartment because of class and find the local cafe or just my school's library, depending on whichever one is closer, and do my work there. So I've already allocated a block of study or deep work there because again, I know that it does well for me. Am I going to still do most of my work at this desk? Yes, because it sets me up for success, right? I have both monitors here. I have every resource that I need in front of me. It's perfect. But does it help sometimes to throw in different locations? Absolutely. Should you try it? Also absolutely. But let's move on to the people side of things, right? I think this part, when you're changing the people around you, it can have such a big influence on your motivation and just in general your overall well-being that I think people don't appreciate. We all know the saying that you are the product of the 5 closest people to you. And that's really true. And I've noticed that to be true even more as I've grown older, right? Whether you notice it or not, there is this transfer of energy that's happening between you and the people close to you. Whether it's because of the things that they say, whether it's because of their actions, it's very powerful, that transfer of energy. And as powerful as positive energy is, I really do believe negative energy has even more of an impact. And so you can see how that could really be a detriment to your overall well-being if you're constantly surrounded by that negativity. And there's been a lot of periods in my life where I've had these really bad ebbs and flows. And in these moments in which things aren't going right for me and I'm kind of in this down period, there were a few instances where I've taken an honest look at the people closest to me and I've recognized, yeah, are these some of my friends? Are they gonna make me laugh and perhaps have a good time in that moment? Sure. But is that type of energy that they're showing to me and the people around us something that I actually want to carry home and keep intimate to myself? Probably not. And so once I would recognize it, I would step away from it. And I know that there's a lot of people here that don't necessarily have that community that they're looking for, of like-minded individuals. And I didn't have that for a while too. What I'll do instead is separate myself from the negativity, because even that is a huge positive to me, right? Even if I don't have that community, just me being alone and not being distracted, not having that detriment is incredible and very, very powerful. So within that time of being alone, I would be able to do the things that I wanted to do and things that were important to me, things that were of value to me, things that I wouldn't necessarily have the opportunity to do if I'm constantly doing things with those other people, right? You have to understand that FOMO really is a thing, and if you're constantly putting yourself in that environment, even if it is negative and even if you can recognize it, you'll still find yourself tempted to do those things because you just don't want to miss out. And so be very mindful of the people that you're surrounding yourself with, right? Even if you can't switch necessarily the type of people and you can't go to a community in which it's good for you and you know that there's a lot more positive energies that are being spread, at least separate yourself from the negative energy, right? At least separate yourself from the negative people. It's very, very helpful for you to be considerate of that. And the more you're aware of it, the better off you'll be. That wraps up point number 3. So as a recap, we went over the importance of routines and how to establish them. We went over the importance of realizing you are in control. And the more you can focus on those internal factors, the better you'll be able to sustain that level of motivation. And number 3, changing your environment, both the place and the people. If you've learned anything in this video, I hope that you let me know about it in the comments or ask me any questions there. And of course, subscribe. So until next time, please take care and I'll talk to you guys real soon.